The viewing screen showed the massive space station growing larger as the human fleet approached. Captain Dae-sung stood on the bridge of the battleship Indomitable, watching the structure rotate slowly against the backdrop of stars. Behind his ship, 5 more human warships followed in tight formation. They were here for the Galactic Council Summit, and Dae-sung knew every eye would be on them. "We're getting some looks, Captain," Commander Hana said from her station. She pulled up feeds from the station's external cameras. Dozens of alien ships surrounded the structure, gleaming and new. The human vessels looked different. Their hulls showed patches where repairs had been made over the years. The paint wasn't quite uniform. Some panels were newer than others. Dae-sung smiled slightly. "Let them look. Indomitable has seen more action than most of those ships combined." Lieutenant Bora turned from her weapons console. "Sir, I'm picking up some chatter on the open channels. They're talking about us." "Put it through," Dae-sung said. A translated voice filled the bridge. "Are those really the human warships? They look ancient."
"How do they even fly?"
Another voice laughed. "I heard humans are new to space. Maybe they don't know how to build proper ships yet." Bora's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Hana glanced at Dae-sung, waiting for his reaction. The captain simply shook his head. "We didn't come here to impress them with paint jobs." Continue approach. The human fleet docked at their assigned berths. Within an hour, Ambassador Taemin was standing in the Grand Council chamber alongside representatives from 46 other species. The room was enormous, with seats arranged in circular tiers. At the center, a holographic display showed the disputed border regions they were here to discuss. Taemin had served in Earth's Navy before becoming a diplomat. He understood ships and soldiers. He also understood politics. When the Velcrin ambassador rose to speak, Taemin recognized the performance for what it was. Ambassador Krithis was tall, even by Velcrin standards. His species looked somewhat reptilian, with scales that shifted colors based on their mood. Right now, Krithis gleamed with confident blues and golds. He gestured to the holographic display, highlighting the trade routes the Velcrin Empire wanted to control. "The Velcrin Empire has the strength to protect these lanes," Krithis announced. His voice was smooth and practiced. "Our fleet consists of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. We have the latest weapons, the fastest engines, and the most powerful shields." He paused, then turned slightly toward where Taemin sat. "Unlike some others, we do not rely on antiques." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Several ambassadors glanced at Taemin. The human kept his expression neutral. Krithis continued, warming to his subject. "I saw the human vessels when they arrived. Frankly, I am surprised they made it here at all. Those ships belong in a museum, not in active service. Perhaps Earth should focus on learning from more advanced civilizations before presuming to claim equal status in matters of galactic security." More laughter. Taemin remained seated, hands folded calmly on the desk before him. He had expected this. Humanity was the newest member of the Galactic Council, granted only provisional status 3 years ago. Many species saw them as upstarts who had barely left their own solar system. Aboard the Indomitable, Dae-sung and his senior officers watched the broadcast. The bridge was quiet except for the usual hum of systems. "He's really enjoying himself," Hana observed. She stood with arms crossed, watching Krithis gesture dramatically at the holographic display of human ships that had appeared. Bora looked angry. "Our ships work perfectly fine. Indomitable has been in service for 50 years. That's 50 years of upgrades, repairs, and improvements. Every system has been tested in real combat. What if the Velcrin actually fought?" "Pirates and smugglers mostly," Hana said. "Their last major war was 80 years ago. Since then, they've focused on building impressive ships and conducting exercises." Dae-sung moved to the tactical display. He pulled up information on the Velcrin warships currently docked at the station. 8 vessels, each one gleaming and new. The specifications were impressive. Advanced energy shields that could adapt to incoming fire, weapon systems with incredible range and power, engines that could accelerate faster than almost anything else in space. "They're beautiful ships," Dae-sung admitted, "but I wonder how well their crews know them. Indomitable has had the same core crew for 15 years. We know every pipe, every wire, every backup system. We can operate her manually if we have to." "Can they say the same?" Before anyone could answer, alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed. Hana rushed to her console, fingers flying across the controls. Multiple contacts just jumped in at the system edge, she reported. 15 ships. Configuration matches Ravager clans. Daesung felt his stomach tighten. The Ravagers were pirates, but well-armed ones. They operated with stolen military technology and had terrorized the border regions for years. Battle stations. All hands, this is not a drill. Throughout the ship, crew members rushed to their posts. Guns powered up. Shields came online. The other human vessels received the alert and began their own preparations. On the council station, chaos erupted. The diplomatic session dissolved as ambassadors scrambled for information. Taemin received an update through his communicator and immediately tried to coordinate with station security. The Ravager fleet approached rapidly. Their lead ship broadcast a message that was picked up by every vessel in the system. Galactic Council, hear us. We claim this station and all ships present as legitimate spoils of war. Surrender now and you will be taken as prisoners to be ransomed. Resist and we will destroy you and scrap your ships for parts. You have 10 minutes to respond. The Velcrin ambassador was already issuing orders. His 8 warships undocked from the station and formed up in defensive formation. Krethis broadcast on all channels, his voice full of confidence. Ravager scum, you have made a fatal mistake. The Velcrin Empire does not surrender. We will destroy you and send your wreckage back as a warning to others. The human ships requested permission to assist. Krethis responded quickly. Stay back and watch how real warriors fight. The Velcrin fleet will handle this. Daesung watched from the Indomitable's bridge as the Velcrin ships accelerated toward the Ravagers. The enemy fleet spread out, ready to receive them. He studied their formation, noting their positions and patterns. Hana, record everything, he ordered quietly. Tactical analysis. I want to know how both sides fight. Already on it, sir. Bora checked her weapons one more time. The old railguns were powered up and ready. She had fired them thousands of times in exercises and combat. She knew their quirks, their timing, their capability. Around her, the crew worked with the smooth efficiency that came from years of training together. The Velcrin fleet opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy lanced across space, striking Ravager shields. Explosions blossomed. For a moment, it looked like the battle would be over quickly. The Velcrin weapons were devastating, and the first volley crippled 2 Ravager cruisers. But the Ravagers didn't break. They scattered and regrouped, their adaptive shields already adjusting to the Velcrin energy signatures. The second volley was less effective. The third even less so. Daesung leaned forward, watching intently. They're adapting. The Ravagers have stolen shield technology that learns from each hit. The battle turned. The Ravagers used tactics that seemed almost chaotic, but Daesung recognized the pattern. They were testing the Velcrin responses, learning their doctrine. The Velcrin fought with rigid formations and predictable patterns. Against a conventional enemy, their superior firepower would have been enough. Against adaptive pirates who fought without rules, their advantage was disappearing. 3 Velcrin ships took critical hits and fell back, trailing atmosphere and debris. The remaining 5 continued to fight, but their confidence was gone. Krethis broadcast orders that sounded increasingly desperate. Taemin contacted Daesung directly. Captain, I'm requesting permission from the Council for human fleet engagement. Stand by. Understood, Ambassador. On the bridge of the Indomitable, the crew waited. They watched the Velcrin struggle. They watched the Ravagers press their advantage. And they prepared for their turn. Bora spoke quietly. Sir, the Ravager's shields are adapting to energy weapons. Our kinetic railguns won't give them the same data to work with. Daesung nodded slowly. No, they won't. Old technology might just be what we need. The Council granted permission. The human fleet was cleared to engage. Daesung opened a channel to all 6 human ships. This is Indomitable. All vessels, advance formation Delta. Target priority on the Ravager flagship. Let's show them what old ships can do. The battleship Indomitable surged forward, her crew ready, her guns hot, her captain calm. Behind her, 5 more vessels followed. They were old ships, mocked and dismissed. But they were crewed by people who knew war, and that was about to make all the difference. The human fleet moved into position with careful precision. Daesung watched the tactical display as his 6 ships spread out into a formation the Ravagers wouldn't recognize. It was based on old naval tactics from Earth's oceans centuries ago. The Velcrin had retreated to regroup near the station. The Ravagers held the center of the battlefield, confident in their victory. Range in 30 seconds, Hana reported. Her fingers danced across her console, feeding targeting data to all the human ships. Ravager flagship is holding position. They think we're going to charge them head-on. Daesung smiled. We'll give them what they expect. Then we'll give them what they don't. Bora had her hands on the weapons controls. The railguns were ready. Unlike the energy weapons the Velcrin used, railguns fired solid projectiles at extreme speeds. Simple physics. Mass times velocity equals impact. She had calculated angles and trajectories while watching the Velcrin fight. Now she knew exactly where to aim. Weapons free on my mark, Daesung said calmly. He waited, counting down in his head. The Indomitable closed the distance. The other human ships matched her pace. Mark! Thunder roared through the ship as the railguns fired. Solid slugs of dense metal accelerated down magnetic rails and shot into space. There was no beam, no energy signature to track. Just projectiles moving at incredible speed. The Ravager shields tried to adapt. They had learned to deflect energy weapons by analyzing and countering the specific frequencies. But there was no frequency to analyze in a solid chunk of metal, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. The shields flickered and failed. 3 projectiles slammed into the Ravager flagship. The impacts tore through the hull, creating massive holes. Atmosphere vented into space. Internal explosions rippled through the ship. The flagship listed to one side, engines sputtering. Direct hits on flagship, Bora reported, satisfaction in her voice. 2 more Ravager cruisers taking damage from the rest of our fleet. The Ravagers had expected another easy fight. The human ships looked old and slow. But the humans weren't fighting with advanced technology. They were fighting with proven weapons and superior tactics. Daesung issued quick orders. Split formation. Group 1, target their left flank. Group 2, swing wide and hit them from above. Indomitable will press the center. The human fleet divided smoothly. 3 ships peeled off to the left, using the debris from the damaged Ravager vessels as cover. 2 more climbed above the plane of battle. Indomitable drove forward, drawing fire. The Ravagers responded, but their coordination was breaking down. They were used to fighting scared merchant ships or unprepared patrols. The humans fought like they had done this before because they had. Every captain in the human fleet had at least 15 years of combat experience. Energy bolts streaked toward Indomitable. The old shields absorbed most of the hits, though some got through and scored the hull. Damage reports came in, but nothing critical. The ship had taken worse and survived. Return fire, Daesung ordered. Target their engines. I want them dead in space, Bora fired again. The railguns had a slower rate of fire than energy weapons, but each shot counted. She didn't spray and pray. She aimed carefully, manually adjusting for the movement of her targets. Another Ravager ship lost power and went dark, drifting helplessly. The 3 human ships that had gone left now came roaring back, catching the Ravager flank unprepared. Railgun fire tore through 2 more enemy vessels. The Ravagers tried to turn, tried to respond, but the humans were everywhere at once. Hana coordinated the fleet movements from her station. She had studied the Ravagers while they fought the Velcrin. She knew their patterns now, could predict where they would go. Every time the Ravagers tried to regroup, a human ship was already there waiting. Sir, the Ravagers are trying to break formation, Hana said. 3 ships heading for open space. Let them run, Daesung replied. He was focused on the main group. The Ravager flagship was still operational, still dangerous. All ships concentrate fire on the flagship. I want it finished. The human fleet converged. Railgun after railgun fired. The Ravager flagship tried to defend itself, but its adaptive shields were useless. Holes appeared in the hull. Internal systems exploded. The ship was dying, and everyone watching knew it. Aboard the council station, ambassadors crowded around viewing screens. They watched in stunned silence as the human fleet systematically destroyed the Ravager force. The ships they had mocked were winning. Krethy stood frozen, his scales shifting to muted grays and browns. Colors of confusion and shame. His fleet had been driven back. The humans were succeeding where he had failed. Taman stood nearby, arms crossed, watching. He said nothing. He didn't need to. Back in space, Daesung made a decision. Hana, bring us alongside the flagship. Close enough to dock, sir. Hana turned, surprised. They've got stolen technology on that ship. Intelligence will want it. Plus prisoners for questioning. Daesung's voice was firm. Prepare boarding teams. It was an insane maneuver by modern standards. Ships didn't close to boarding range anymore. Space combat was fought at distances measured in thousands of kilometers. But Daesung knew his ship could take the hits. More importantly, he knew his crew could handle boarding actions. Indomitable accelerated hard, closing the distance to the dying Ravager flagship. Point defense guns spat fire, keeping smaller Ravager vessels at bay. The battleship's thick armor absorbed hits that would have crippled the lighter Velcrin ships. Brace for impact, Daesung warned. Helm, ram that airlock. The helmsman didn't hesitate. Indomitable's reinforced prow slammed into the Ravager flagship's port side, right where Hana had identified an auxiliary airlock. The collision shook both ships. Clamps extended, locking the vessels together. Boarding teams, go! Hatches opened and armed humans poured through. They wore combat armor and carried rifles, moving in practiced formations. The Ravagers inside tried to resist, but they were pirates, not trained soldiers. The human Marines had done this before. They moved through corridors methodically, securing sections one at a time. Commander Hana led the main assault team. She moved fast but careful, checking corners and covering blind spots. Behind her, 10 Marines followed in tight formation. They encountered a group of Ravagers at an intersection. Brief firefight. The Ravagers went down quickly. Bridge is ahead, Hana said into her comm. 2 minutes. On the Indomitable's bridge, Daesung monitored multiple situations at once. The boarding action, the space battle, the status of all 6 human ships. His crew performed their duties with the efficiency of long practice. No one panicked. No one froze. Sir, 3 more Ravager ships are bugging out, Bora reported. That leaves 5 still fighting. Let them go, Daesung repeated. Focus on the one staying. They made their choice. The human fleet pressed the attack. The remaining Ravagers fought desperately now, realizing they were losing. But desperation wasn't enough against superior training and coordination. One by one, the Ravager ships were disabled or destroyed. Hana reached the Ravager flagship's bridge. The doors were sealed, but her team had breaching charges. The explosion blew the doors inward. Smoke billowed out. Hana led her Marines through. The Ravager captain stood in the center of his bridge, surrounded by dying systems and injured crew. He was a large alien, heavily scarred, wearing armor decorated with trophies from previous victims. When he saw Hana, he laughed bitterly. Humans. You're supposed to be weak. Supposed to be easy prey. He gestured at his ruined ship. What happened? Hana kept her rifle trained on him. You fought our ships. You should have feared our crews. She signaled her Marines. Take him and any survivors into custody. Outside, the battle was ending. Of the 15 Ravager ships, 5 were destroyed completely. 4 were captured, disabled, and boarded by human crews. 3 had fled. The remaining 3 surrendered when they saw their flagship fall. The human fleet took no further damage after the initial engagement. Indomitable had some hull scoring and a few minor systems needed repair, but nothing serious. The other 5 human ships reported similar status. All crews accounted for, minimal casualties. Daesung stood and stretched. The bridge crew was exhausted but satisfied. Well done, everyone. Stand down from combat stations. Maintain security watches. He opened a channel to the council station. Ambassador Taemin, this is Captain Daesung. The Ravager threat has been neutralized. We have prisoners and captured ships for the council's disposition. Taemin's voice came back, barely containing his satisfaction. Acknowledged, Captain. Excellent work. The council is requesting a full debriefing. Tell them we'll be ready in 2 hours. Daesung out. Bora turned from her console. Sir, we're getting messages from some of the other fleets. Congratulations, mostly. Questions about our tactics. Route them to Commander Hana when she gets back, Daesung said. She can handle the tactical debriefs. Through the viewports, the wreckage of the battle drifted in the starlight. The Velcrin fleet was slowly returning to the station, their gleaming ships now showing damage and char marks. They had learned something today. So had everyone else watching. The human ships looked the same as they had before the battle. Old, worn, patched. But now, no one was laughing. No one was mocking. The antiques had fought and won against an enemy that had defeated the galaxy's most modern fleet. The medical bay on the council station was busy. Wounded from all 3 fleets filled the beds and treatment pods. Human medics worked alongside alien doctors, sharing techniques and resources. The battle had been brief, but brutal. Daesung walked through the bay, checking on his injured crew. 47 humans had been wounded, most during the boarding actions. 3 had died, their bodies already prepared for the journey home. He stopped at each bed, speaking quietly with the wounded. They were tired but proud. They had done their jobs well. "Captain." A young ensign tried to sit up, wincing from the bandages around his torso. "Did we get them all?" "We got them," Daesung confirmed. "Rest now. You earned it." The ensign smiled and lay back down. Around him, other wounded crew members showed similar satisfaction. They had been mocked, dismissed as flying antiques. Then they had proven their worth in the only way that mattered. Commander Hana found Daesung in the corridor outside the medical bay. She looked tired but uninjured. The boarding action had been intense, but her team had been better trained and better prepared than the Ravagers. "Casualties?" Daesung asked. 3 dead, as you know. 47 wounded, none critical. All will recover fully. Hana paused. The Velkrin lost 212. 5 of their ships were completely destroyed. The others took heavy damage. Daesung nodded slowly. He took no pleasure in the Velkrin losses, but the numbers told a story. Modern technology and firepower had not been enough. Experience and adaptability had made the difference. "The Council wants us in the main chamber in 1 hour, Hana said. Ambassador Taemin asked if you would be willing to explain our tactics. Of course. Daesung started walking toward the human quarters. "How are the prisoners?" "Secured and being processed. The Ravager captain is demanding to speak with whoever commanded the human fleet. Says he wants to understand how he lost." "Set up a meeting after the council session," Daesung decided. "He deserves answers." The council chamber was more crowded than before. News of the battle had spread through the station, and now every ambassador wanted to attend. The circular seating area was packed. At the center, holographic displays showed recordings of the battle from multiple angles. Ambassador Taemin stood when Daesung and Hana entered. He gestured them forward. "Captain Daesung, Commander Hana, thank you for coming. The council has questions about the engagement." Krethis was there too, standing near the Velkrin delegation. His scales showed muted colors, not the confident golds from before. When Daesung met his eyes, the Velkrin ambassador looked away. "Captain Daesung," a council elder began, "we have reviewed the battle recordings. Your tactics were unusual. Please explain your approach." Daesung moved to stand beside the holographic display. With a few gestures, he pulled up different views of the battle. The Ravagers had adaptive shields. We watched them learn from the Velkrin energy weapons. Each hit gave them data to counter the next one, so we used kinetic weapons, solid projectiles, no energy signature to analyze. Their shields couldn't adapt to simple mass. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several ambassadors looked at each other, surprised by the simplicity. "Your formation was also unusual," another council member noted. "You split your fleet into multiple groups. This is considered risky in modern combat doctrine." "Modern doctrine assumes long-range combat," Hana stepped forward to answer. "Ships fighting from thousands of kilometers away, relying on computer targeting. But we fought close. Our crews manually calculated firing solutions. We used the debris field for cover. We adapted constantly based on what we saw." She brought up footage of the boarding action. "And when necessary, we closed to physical contact. The Ravagers didn't expect that. No one fights that way anymore. But we train for it, because you never know when you might need it." Krethis finally spoke. His voice was quieter than before. "Your ships are old. How did they withstand the damage? My vessels have the latest shield technology, and they failed." Daesung turned to face him directly. "Our ships are old, but we maintain them constantly. Every system has been tested and repaired dozens of times. We know exactly how much stress they can take because we've pushed them to those limits before." He paused. "More importantly, our shields can be operated manually. When the automated systems take damage, our crew can run them by hand." "Can your crews do that?" Krethis said nothing. The answer was obvious. Velkrin ships were so automated that manual operation was barely taught. Crews relied on computers to handle most functions. When those computers were damaged, The ships became vulnerable. There's another factor, Taemin added. Human ships keep the same crews for many years. Captain Daesung has commanded Indomitable for 15 years. Some of his crew have served even longer. They know their ship completely. Every quirk, every backup system, every workaround. That knowledge saved lives today. An ambassador from a species called the Tauran stood. Captain, the Velcrin ambassador, has filed a complaint. He claims your weapons should be classified as illegal under council rules. He says kinetic weapons are too primitive and dangerous. The chamber went quiet. Everyone watched to see how Daesung would respond. The captain kept his expression calm. Are kinetic weapons banned by council law? He asked simply. No, the Tauran ambassador admitted. They are legal, but considered outdated. Most species stopped using them centuries ago. Then there is no violation. Daesung looked around the chamber. We use weapons we understand and trust. If other species consider them primitive, that's their choice. But primitive doesn't mean ineffective. More murmurs, but these sounded approving. Several ambassadors nodded. They had seen the results. The primitive weapons had won. Another elder spoke. We understand your tactics now, Captain. But there is still the matter of the trade routes we gathered to discuss. The Velcrin Empire claimed they alone could provide adequate security. Your victory today raises questions about that claim. Krathis bristled, his scales flashing angry reds. One battle is all we have to judge, the elder interrupted gently. The Ravagers were driven off by the human fleet while the Velcrin fleet was forced to retreat. These are facts we cannot ignore. Taemin stepped forward. Earth proposes a joint security arrangement. Human and Velcrin ships working together to patrol the trade routes. Our tactics complement each other. Velcrin ships have superior speed and long-range capability. Human ships excel at close combat and boarding actions. Together, we would be more effective than either fleet alone. It was a diplomatic solution that gave both sides something. Krathis clearly wanted to refuse, but he couldn't. Not after today. Slowly, his scales shifted to neutral grays. The Velcrin Empire would consider such an arrangement. The council elders conferred briefly. Then the lead elder spoke. We will recess for 2 days to allow both parties to negotiate terms. When we reconvene, we will vote on the trade route security arrangements. The session ended. Ambassadors filed out, many stopping to speak with Taemin or to get closer looks at Daesung and Hana. The humans were no longer curiosities. They were potential allies or threats depending on which side of a negotiation you sat. Later, in a private meeting room, Daesung sat across from the captured Ravager captain. 2 Marine guards stood nearby, weapons ready but not raised. The Ravager was secured with restraints, but he sat upright, maintaining what dignity he could. You wanted to talk, Daesung said. The Ravager captain nodded. I've raided merchant convoys, I've fought planetary defense forces, I've even tangled with military patrols. Always won, always escaped. He looked directly at Daesung. How did you beat us so easily? Training, Daesung answered simply. My crew has trained together for years. We run combat drills weekly. We practice manual operations monthly. We study historical battles and learn from them. By the time we engaged you, we had already fought that battle 100 times in simulators. But your ships are old. Old doesn't mean weak. Daesung leaned forward slightly. You assumed old meant obsolete. That was your first mistake. Our ships have been upgraded constantly. New weapons fitted to old hulls. New sensors integrated with existing systems. We keep what works and improve what doesn't. The Ravager captain absorbed this. What happens to me now? You'll be tried by the council for piracy. You killed people, destroyed ships, terrorized trade routes. There will be justice. Daesung stood. But I'll testify that you fought with courage when you had no chance of winning. That should count for something. As Daesung left, the Ravager captain called after him. Your crew respects you. I could see it in how they fought. They'd follow you anywhere. Daesung paused at the door. They follow me because I've earned it. That takes time, Years, decades. You can't rush trust and you can't buy loyalty. You have to build it, day after day. He looked back. That's something else our old ships taught us. That evening, Daesung returned to the Indomitable. The ship was docked for repairs, but the crew was still busy. Damage control teams worked on the hull scoring. Engineers checked every system, making sure nothing had been compromised. The ship hummed with activity. He went to the observation deck, a small room with large windows looking out at the stars. Hana and Bora were already there, watching the repair crews work outside. "Sir?" Bora straightened when she saw him. 2 weeks had passed since the battle. The council station had returned to normal operations, though the atmosphere had changed. Where before the human delegation had been ignored or dismissed, now they received respectful nods in the corridors. Ambassadors who had laughed at their old ships now requested meetings to discuss security cooperation. Daesung stood in a conference room, looking at holographic displays showing trade route proposals. Beside him, Ambassador Taemin reviewed diplomatic notes. Across the table sat Krethis and several Velcrin military advisors. The meeting had been tense at first, but slowly the ice was breaking. "Your proposal for joint patrols is acceptable," Krethis said. His scales showed cautious greens and blues. "But the Velcrin Empire requests that our ships take the lead position in any formation." Taemin smiled slightly. "The formation doesn't matter. What matters is that we cover each other's weaknesses. Velcrin ships excel at long-range detection and fast response. Human ships are better at close combat and boarding operations. Neither of us needs to be in front, we need to work together." One of the Velcrin admirals leaned forward. "Captain Daesung, I must ask, how long do your crews train before they are considered ready for combat?" "Basic training is 2 years," Daesung answered. "Then assignment to a ship for at least 3 years before they are allowed to serve on a warship. Combat drills weekly, larger exercises monthly. Most of my crew has served for 10 years or more." The Velcrin admiral looked troubled. "Our training cycle is 6 months before assignment. We rely heavily on automation and computer-assisted operations. It allows us to crew more ships with fewer people." "Which makes you vulnerable when those systems fail," Hana said. She had been invited to the meeting as tactical advisor. "During the battle, we monitored your communications. When your automated systems took damage, your crews didn't know how to switch to manual control. Some didn't even know manual control was possible." The Velcrin officers exchanged uncomfortable looks. It was the truth, and they knew it. Their obsession with the latest technology had created a weakness they hadn't recognized until it was too late. Krethis spoke carefully. "Would Earth be willing to provide training advisors to teach our crews these manual operations?" Taemin and Daesung exchanged glances. This was unexpected. The Velcrin Empire was proud, perhaps the proudest species in the Council. For them to ask for help was significant. "We'd be honored," Taemin said, "but we'd ask for something in return. Access to your shield technology. Our engineers would like to study it, see if we can integrate it with our existing systems." "Agreed," Krethis said immediately. His scales brightened slightly. A fair exchange. The meeting continued for another hour, hammering out details. When it finally ended, both sides seemed satisfied. As they left the conference room, Krethis held back, gesturing for Daesung to wait. "A private word, Captain?" Daesung nodded. They walked to a quieter section of the corridor. Krethis was silent for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "I was wrong about you," the Velcrin ambassador said finally. "About your ships, your capabilities, your people. I let my pride blind me to the truth." "We all make assumptions," Daesung replied. "The important thing is learning from them. I watched the battle recordings many times, studied every decision you made." Krethis's scales showed deep blues of serious thought. "You could have let us fail. Watched the Ravagers destroy my fleet, then claimed credit for saving the station. It would have been politically advantageous for Earth." "That's not why we're here," Daesung said simply. "We came to help protect the trade routes. That includes protecting other defenders, even if they mocked us first." Krethis was quiet for a long moment. "I would like to tour your ship, the Indomitable. See these old systems that performed so well. Would that be possible? Dae-sung considered. Such a tour would reveal a lot about human capabilities, but it would also build trust, which was worth more than secrets. Tomorrow, if you're free, I'll have Commander Hana give you the full tour. I would be grateful. The next day, Krethis arrived at the Indomitable accompanied by 2 junior officers. Hana met them at the airlock wearing her duty uniform. She had prepared the crew for the visit, made sure everything was presentable but honest. She wouldn't hide what the ship really was. Welcome aboard, Hana said. We'll start at the bridge and work our way down. As they walked through the corridors, Krethis noticed everything. The walls showed wear from decades of use. Some panels were newer than others, clearly replaced after damage. The lighting was practical but not fancy. There were no decorative elements, no attempts to impress visitors. How old is this ship? One of the Velkrin officers asked. 50 years, Hana answered. Commissioned in 2247. She's been refitted 7 times, upgraded constantly, and repaired after dozens of battles. They reached the bridge. Krethis looked around at the stations, the displays, the controls. Everything was functional, but clearly not cutting edge. Some of the equipment looked ancient by modern standards. This console, Krethis pointed at the weapons station where Bora usually sat. It has manual controls, physical buttons and switches. Every station does, Hana explained. If the main computer fails, if the power systems are damaged, we can still operate the ship. It's slower, requires more crew coordination, but it works. Can you say the same about your ships? Krethis didn't answer. His silence was answer enough. They continued the tour. The engine room was a maze of systems from different eras, the original fusion reactors, still running strong but upgraded with modern control systems. Power distribution networks that had been rerouted and improved dozens of times. Backup generators, redundant systems, failsafes built on top of failsafes. The chief engineer, an older woman named Sun Hee, explained the setup. Nothing here is cutting edge, but everything works. We know every pipe, every cable, every junction. When something breaks, we don't need to call the manufacturer. We fix it ourselves. Krethis watched her speak with the confidence of deep knowledge. You've served on this ship for how long? 22 years. Sun Hee said proudly. Started as a junior technician, learned from the engineers who came before me. Now I'm teaching the next generation. The tour moved to crew quarters. Krethis was surprised by how personalized they were. Photos on walls, personal items on shelves. Some bunks had been in the same spot for decades, passed from one crew member to the next. Your crews live here for years? One of the Velkrin officers asked. Most tours are 2 to 3 years, Hana confirmed. But many crew members request reassignment to the same ship after their leave. Some have served here for their entire careers. They passed a memorial wall. Holographic plaques showed the names and faces of crew members who had died while serving on Indomitable. There were dozens of them, spanning 50 years. Krethis stopped and read several names. You honor your dead, he said quietly. We remember them, Hana corrected gently. They're part of the ship's history. Part of what makes Indomitable what she is. Every person on that wall contributed something, taught someone, saved someone. They matter. Krethis's scales showed somber grays. We recycle our old ships, melt them down for materials to build new ones. When a Velkrin warship is retired, there is no memorial, just efficiency. Different approaches, Hana said. Neither is wrong. But we believe our way builds something beyond just a ship. It builds a legacy, a tradition, a sense of belonging. The final stop was the observation deck, the same place where Dae-sung, Hana, and Bora had stood after the battle. Through the large windows, space stretched out endlessly. Krethis moved to the glass and stared out. I thought our ships were superior because they were new, he said. I thought technology alone made us strong. But I was missing the most important element. Which is? Hana asked. The people, the experience, the knowledge that comes from years of working together on the same vessel. Krethis turned to face her. Your ship is old, but your crew makes it powerful. They know every system, every backup, every trick. My crews know how to press buttons on a modern console, but when those consoles fail, they're helpless. Hana nodded slowly. Technology is a tool. A good tool makes work easier. But the newest tool isn't always the best tool. Sometimes the old one that you know completely is worth more than the fancy one you barely understand. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Krethis spoke again. I'm recommending to the Velkrin Council that we extend the service life of our ships, keep them longer, give crews more time to learn them, and I'm requesting that training advisors from Earth teach our people the value of manual operations. We'll send our best instructors, Hana promised. As the tour ended and Krethis prepared to leave, he stopped at the airlock. Thank you, Commander Hana. This tour has been more valuable than any diplomatic meeting. You've shown me that strength comes in many forms. You're welcome, Ambassador. After the Velkrin delegation left, Hana found Daesung in his ready room. He was reviewing reports but looked up when she entered. How did it go? He asked. Better than expected. I think we made a genuine connection. Hana sat down. He gets it now. Understands why our old ships work so well. Daesung smiled. Good. We need allies out here, not rivals. The galaxy is big enough for different approaches. Sir, I've been thinking. The Ravagers attacked because they saw the Council as weak, divided. 3 months after the battle, the human fleet prepared to leave the Council station. Their mission was complete. The trade route agreements had been signed. Joint patrol schedules had been established. Human training advisors had already begun working with Velkrin crews, teaching them manual operations and backup procedures. Daesung walked through the Indomitable one last time before departure. The ship had been fully repaired. New hull plates covered the battle damage. All systems had been checked and rechecked. The crew was ready to go home. In the engine room, he found Sunhee supervising final checks. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. Captain, everything's running perfectly. Better than before, actually. The Velkrin shared some of their power distribution improvements. I integrated them with our existing systems. Combining the best of both approaches, Daesung asked. Exactly. Their technology, with our understanding of how to use it manually if needed. Sunhee patted a control panel affectionately. This old girl has learned some new tricks. Daesung continued his walk. In the armory, Marines cleaned weapons and stored equipment. In the medical bay, doctors reviewed the lessons learned from treating battle casualties. In crew quarters, people packed personal items and prepared for the long journey home. Everyone was tired but satisfied. On the bridge, Hana and Bora were running final system checks. The tactical displays showed the space around the station. Multiple ships were visible, including a formation of Velkrin vessels that would escort the human fleet to the border. All departments report ready for departure, Hana said. We're cleared to undock in 30 minutes. Good. Daesung settled into his command chair. It was worn and comfortable, shaped by years of use. Like everything else on the ship, it had history. After we undock, I want a flyby of the station. Show of respect. Aye, sir. Bora turned from her console. Sir, I'm detecting multiple ships powering up their communication arrays. I think they're preparing to send us off. Daesung smiled slightly. That was unexpected but appreciated. The human fleet had arrived to mockery and dismissal. They would leave to respect and honor. Ambassador Tae Min contacted from the station. Captain Daesung, I wanted to say farewell before you depart. It's been an honor working with you. The honor is ours, Ambassador. You handled the diplomacy while we handled the fighting. Both were necessary. I'll be staying here for another month to finalize details, Tae Min said. But I'm sending a message to Earth recommending you for promotion to Admiral. You've earned it. Daesung was quiet for a moment. Thank you, Ambassador. But I'd prefer to stay captain of Indomitable. She's my ship. These are my people. I'm not ready to give that up for a desk job. Tae Min laughed. I thought you might say that. I'll note your preference in my report. His tone grew more serious. You've changed things here, Captain. Not just for humanity, but for everyone. You showed them that there are different ways to be strong. We just did our job. Exactly. And that's why it mattered. The conversation ended. Daesung stood and moved to the main viewport. Below, he could see the station in all its complexity, a place where dozens of species gathered to trade, negotiate, and cooperate. Earth had earned its place here through combat, but now they would maintain it through partnership and reliability. 10 minutes to undocking, Hana announced. Across the ship, crew members moved to their stations. This was routine now after months at the station, but there was an energy in the air, an anticipation. They were going home, back to Earth, back to families and friends they hadn't seen in over a year. Captain, we're being hailed by the Velcrin flagship, Bora said. It's Ambassador Krethis. On screen, Krethis appeared on the main display. His scales showed bright, friendly colors. Captain Dae-sung, I wanted to speak before you left. To thank you personally. No thanks necessary, Ambassador. I disagree. You could have humiliated us further after the battle. Instead, you offered partnership. You treated us with respect even after we showed you none. Krethis paused. The Velcrin Empire has learned much from Earth. We are better for knowing you. The feeling is mutual, Dae-sung said sincerely. Your technology and our experience will make both our fleets stronger. That benefits everyone. Safe travels, Captain. I hope we meet again soon. I'm certain we will. The display went dark. Hana smiled. That's quite a change from 3 months ago. People can change when they're willing to learn, Dae-sung said. Krethis was arrogant, but he wasn't stupid. He saw the truth and adjusted. That takes courage. 5 minutes to undocking. The crew made final preparations. Outside, other ships began moving into position. Not just the Velcrin escort, but vessels from a dozen other species. They were forming up along the departure corridor, preparing to honor the human fleet as it left. All moorings released, the helm officer reported. Thrusters ready? Take us out, Dae-sung ordered. Nice and slow. The Indomitable detached from the station and drifted clear of the docking arms. Her 5 sister ships followed in tight formation. Together they turned toward the departure corridor and began to accelerate gently. As they passed the station, lights began to flash. Ship after ship activated their running lights in sequence, creating waves of illumination. It was a traditional salute, used to honor departing vessels. The human fleet was receiving the highest respect the Council could offer. Captain, multiple ships are broadcasting messages, Bora said. Her voice held wonder. Congratulations. Safe journey. Thank you. Sir, they're thanking us. On the station, in the observation galleries, thousands of beings from dozens of species watched the human fleet depart. Ambassadors stood alongside merchants, soldiers beside civilians. They watched the old ships pass by, no longer seeing obsolete relics but proven warriors. In one gallery, Krethis stood with a group of Velcrin officers. They watched in silence as Indomitable led the formation past. One of the junior officers spoke quietly. Their ships still look old. Krethis turned to him. Yes, and I hope they never change them. Those ships and their crews saved us. They taught us that new doesn't always mean better. Remember that lesson. The formation continued through the corridor. More ships joined the light display. The entire station seemed to glow with respect. Hana recorded everything, knowing this moment would become part of Indomitable's history. We're clear of station traffic control, the helm officer announced. Ready to increase speed. All ships, this is Indomitable, Dae-sung broadcast to the fleet. Set course for Earth standard cruise speed. Let's go home. The 6 ships accelerated together, leaving the station behind. The escort of Velcrin vessels matched their pace, forming an honor guard that would accompany them to the border. In his ready room later, Dae-sung sat alone with his thoughts. On his desk was a small holographic display showing the ship's service record. 50 years of missions, dozens of battles, countless light years traveled, thousands of crew members who had served aboard her over the decades. The door chimed. Come in. Hana entered carrying a data pad. Sir, I've compiled the final after-action report. Casualties, damage assessment, tactical analysis. Everything the Admiralty will want to see. She handed him the pad. Dae-sung scrolled through it, noting the details. The report was thorough and professional. It told the story of the battle objectively, without exaggeration or false modesty. Good work, Commander. Send it to Fleet Headquarters when we're in range. Hana didn't leave. She seemed to have something else on her mind. What is it? Dae-sung asked. Sir, Ambassador Taemin told me about his recommendation. That you turned down promotion. I did. Can I ask why? You could command an entire battle group, help shape policy, train the next generation of captains. Dae-sung leaned back in his chair. I could. But this ship needs me. This crew knows me. We've built something here over years of working together. If I leave, that connection breaks. The next captain would be competent, certainly, but they wouldn't be part of Indomitable's history, not yet. That takes time. So you're choosing the ship over promotion. I'm choosing where I can do the most good. An admiral coordinates multiple ships but commands none of them directly. I want to be here on the bridge making decisions with my crew. Maybe someday I'll be ready for a desk. But not yet, Hana smiled. I'm glad, sir. The crew will be glad too. We all wondered what would happen when we got back. After she left, Dae-sung returned to his thoughts. He thought about the battle, the tour he'd given Krethis, the changes that would come from humanity's actions here. Earth had proven itself capable. Now came the harder work of maintaining that reputation, building on it, becoming a reliable partner in galactic affairs. The door chimed again. This time it was Bora. Sir, I wanted to thank you. For what? For keeping me on weapons when I made that mistake during the battle. I nearly fired too early, would have wasted a shot. Dae-sung remembered the moment. Bora had been eager, too eager. He'd corrected her calmly and she'd adjusted immediately. You recovered quickly. That's what matters. Mistakes happen. Learning from them is what makes a good officer great. Bora straightened. Sir, I've been offered a position on a newer ship. Destroyer class fresh from the shipyard. They want experienced weapons officers. She paused. I'm turning it down. Requesting to stay on Indomitable. You'd advance faster on a newer ship, Dae-sung pointed out.